Now move on to the search for Gus. So as we well know, Gus is a little 4-year-old, blonde, curly hair, smiling face young fellow who has been missing from a farm property about 43 kilometres south of the township of Yunta since last Saturday, the 27th of September. The last time Gus was seen by family was approximately 5 p.m. That night, and when a family member came out later in the evening, about half an hour later, to call him back inside, they couldn't find him. He's been described as an adventurous child, shy, but he is also a pretty good walker, but he's never left the family property with any distance previously that we're aware of. As everyone would know, considerable police resources and searches have been undertaken for the last 7 days, throwing absolutely everything we can in an effort to try and locate Gus safely and safe and well and alive. From early Sunday morning, all the resources that were involved in the search to that time were rapidly increased. Clearly everyone understands the urgency of a situation with a missing person, but particularly a 4-year-old child. This commitment has been ongoing and unwavering since that time, and the search for Gus has probably been one of the largest, most intensive searches for a missing person conducted in South Australia in recent times. Like every member of the community who's following this very, very sad event, our people who've been on the ground, our volunteers, our police officers, Defence Force personnel and others, equally have been affected in some way or another by the fact that there's a missing 4-year-old child. You have to remember that people involved in this search are parents, family members, often with young siblings or young ones around, and so we all feel the pain and the heartache that's associated with a young child going missing. On Tuesday night, senior police spoke to Gus's family and prepared them for the possibility that we may not be able to find him alive, and this is based on scientific advice, professional advice that we get about how long it would be possible for a 4-year-old to survive in that terrain with the weather conditions and the clothing that he was wearing at the time. Whilst we've all been hoping for a miracle, that miracle was not eventuated, and in the last 48 hours, despite the professional advice, it being unlikely that Gus would have survived, we have maintained and in fact increased the effort to try and locate him and bring him back to his family. Unfortunately, at no point has there been any significant evidence that has enabled us to really focus in a direction for our search, give us any clues as to where he may have gone. We're confident that we've done absolutely everything we can to locate Gus within the search area, but despite our best efforts, we have not been able to locate him, and unfortunately we are now having to scale back this search for Gus. We won't stop. We will continue to investigate and follow any lines of inquiry that we currently have. And in fact, we've been conducting concurrent activities in relation to ruling out or ruling in any possible option associated with Gus going missing. But everything that we have found to date, every piece of information and evidence that we have explored to date, indicates that, as best as we know, Gus has wandered off from this property and we've not been able to locate him. We would like to thank absolutely everybody involved who's been involved in the search, who's provided information, who's provided coverage in relation to Gus going missing. This is clearly now what appears to be a very tragic set of circumstances. We hold out hope that we may be able to find Gus and return him to his family, but clearly that potential is diminishing as days go by. We will now transition into an investigation focus. We will now continue to pursue ongoing lines of inquiry, and we will not rest until we can try and find the answer to why Gus has gone missing, and hopefully, like I said, for the family, return him to them. Thank you.
Will anyone stay on the property up at Gunton?
So, as we scale back our resources, no, there won't necessarily be a presence on the property. There will still be, obviously, liaison with the family as we continue to follow lines of inquiry and to do everything we can to make sure we've covered every single option in terms of what may have occurred at the property.
Without sort of suggesting anything, is there anything that authorities would have done differently in this search?
What I'm really proud of in terms of the way that this search has been conducted is the urgency with which we have responded to the reports that Gus was missing. The amount of people and assets that have been allocated to this search has been astronomical. On average, we've had no less than 50 people on the ground at the site searching for hours and hours on end during the day. Our searchers on foot have covered approximately 25 kilometres each and every day of this search for 7 days. I think it's in the order of something like 470 odd square metres that we've searched. Has been extensively searched. We've had people on motorbikes, all-terrain vehicles. We've had mounted operations, star group, divers checking water sources. There's been a whole range of assets and people who've been deeply invested in trying to find Gus, as the public would rightly expect of us. And as I said, we're very confident that with all the information available to us at this point, Gus has wandered away from the property and we have been unable to find him.
What's the best theory that you've got on what's happened to him?
The best theory at the moment is exactly that. The evidence that we have available to us is that Gus has wandered away from the property and somewhere onto the farm property, and we have not been able to locate him. I'm aware that there's a lot of speculation on social media and various theories that quite a number of people are espousing on social media. Can I just remind people that it is not helpful, it is not appropriate to speculate in these circumstances. If you were to put yourselves in the shoes of a family who would be clearly distraught about the loss of a small child, someone who's gone missing, it paints a little bit of a different picture and a perspective for people to take into account. And we understand that there are going to be keyboard detectives out there who have these various theories. Everything we know at this point in time is that Gus has wandered away from the property and we have not been able to find him.
That speculation from the public, is that in any way tied up police resources from a media perspective?
So what happens when we release information to the public, and particularly when you have such an angelic face such as Gus go out into the media, people will ring in. People want to genuinely help. They'll want to provide information that they think might help police and searchers locate a child. But there are also quite a number of people who are less than helpful and offer their opinions regardless of what the facts say. And in those circumstances, they are not only unhelpful, they are hurtful, and they do tie up police resources because people will ring into either Crime Stoppers or into the police contact numbers. We take every call seriously, and we'll also pass the relevant information on to the investigators who will continue to be looking at Gus being missing from the property.
Fairly obvious question, but how is the family coping with the development data that search has scaled back?
You're right, it's an obvious question. Any family that loses a family member is traumatised by the loss of that family member. Life's not supposed to work where a parent loses a child. It's supposed to work the other way around. So I think it becomes incredibly traumatic and upsetting for families who lose children, and particularly in circumstances where you don't necessarily know the answers. So yes, the family are really upset by this, as you'd expect, and the public generally are also upset with the fact that a 4-year-old is out there somewhere by themselves.
How difficult is it also for those police SES officers searching on foot when there simply hasn't been, aside from the footprint, any trace at all?
As I said before, our search personnel, whether they be volunteers or whether they're police or Defence Force personnel, have families. So you can imagine that it would be easy for people to be demoralised by the fact that they can't find Gus in this circumstance. But despite that, I know that there's been an unwavering commitment by everybody involved in this search, and I would again like to thank everyone who's been involved for the immense effort that has taken place to try and find Gus and bring him back to his family.
This may have been covered previously. Is Gus an only child? Does he have siblings?
Look, I'm not prepared to talk about the rest of the family at this particular point in time, particularly given the trauma that they're going through at this stage.
I know you use the language scale back, but has the search on the property ended?
We are scaling back the search on the property today, so the Defence Force personnel who've been assisting again this morning will be stood down shortly, and so from a foot search perspective and the intensive search we've been doing so far, it is being scaled back this afternoon.
I know you said that earlier the best theory at the moment is that he's wandered off. When no major crime detectives were there earlier in the week, do you still firmly believe there's no suspicious circumstances here?
Yeah, absolutely. We believe that with the evidence available to us at the moment that Gus has wandered off from the property, as I said. Yes, we have had major crime detectives involved in this search and helping local investigators and also search authorities. I think everyone in the public would expect that we would have major crime detectives involved in this as some of the most experienced detectives that we have within our organisation. And they have been actively assisting our local investigators as well as the searchers to make sure that we can actually cover off on every single element that may be an option in these circumstances. As I said before, everything at the moment points to Gus has wandered off from the property.
I assume the community up there would be quite closely concerned there's so few of them up there. Do you expect them to continue to rally around this family?
Country people are amazing when it comes to looking after each other. That's one of the great things about living and working in regional areas is that the country people really rally around each other and support each other. And yes, this is what we've been experiencing with this search. The willingness for people to help has been amazing. It's always amazing. So yes, that community spirit, that regional spirit